So, I mean, if you take, when I sold a company to Microsoft, it was called Ivy Multimedia. It was based in Battersea. It was run by a Greek guy, and he had come up with a software solution that allowed you to, it was like a visual database. It was back in the Flickr days. It was like 2004, 2005. And he'd come up with a visual database. You could throw any file format in there. You could batch process it. You could visualize it. You could publish it. You could print it. You could do whatever you wanted with it. And it was quite cool, and everyone liked it. But the truth was, we were a lot of things to a lot of people. Like me, I know very little about a lot of things. But we had a user base. When I turned up, we had a user base that actually they loved the product. They were early adopters, but they were all using it for their various reasons. So, Disney used it for storyboarding, and font guys used it, and designers used it, and photographers used it. And we said, look, this is, unless we were sort of here, so we were there, we'd had innovators, early adopters, and we thought, look, unless we own something, unless we turn this business into something that matters to a community, we're not going to be meaningful. So our battle plan was very much, let's go and own photography. And I always use this analogy. It's like World War II. We didn't, when we decided to take on Europe, we didn't send all our boats to 3 different points in Europe. We put every element, all our military, all our hardware, all our soldiers into one beachhead to try and own that beachhead. And actually, that's what worked out for us in the end. We established a beachhead, and then we were able to move into Europe. So understand what your battle plan needs to be. And with iView, it was photography. So we went after photographers, we changed the product, we stopped going to technology shows, we just went to photography shows. We branded the product for photographers, we changed the website, we changed the appeal, we made sure every camera update that came out, every font format, every raw file format, we had it on there. So we became meaningful to photographers. And as a result of that, we captured their market. We captured the pro photography market. And when, and it mattered to our consumers, it also mattered to the acquiring company at this stage, Microsoft, because they wanted a photography product. And had we been everything to everyone, or we'd continue to go, move our business to a myriad of different types of consumers, would have been nothing to anyone, and therefore you're not meaningful. So I always say, just, when you're building your businesses, and you may not be there yet, you may be in the innovation stage, but just understand where you are in that life cycle, because you need a different strategy to take you to the next level. And it's actually been very useful to me to build businesses around. And how do you operate in a changing marketplace like today? I mean, in the old days, and we've done this at YPlan, we spend a lot of money, but if this is a traditional marketing funnel, generally you're going to spend a lot of money on outdoor advertising or TV or radio to promote your brand. And that's great, because a lot of people may see it, and then ultimately you may get new people trying your product or service, whatever you're doing. But these days, I mean, and this is what we did at Living Social, we flipped the funnel over, and we said, look, there's social networks now that allow us to actually get huge buzz about something, but we have to figure out a way to attract the individual, to incentivize that individual to go in and do something, and go and talk to their friends about it. So if you look at social media and what you guys have options with at the moment, you live in a world where you can actually have huge traction on a social media if you can get the individual to move. You don't need to spend mass market money to get individuals come to your business or service. You can actually do it. You can do it that way. So I'd suggest, so think about that. I mean, we had something called Me+3, which allowed you to, if someone bought a Living Social deal, then they were able to, and they gave the link to 3 of their friends, and 3 of their friends bought it, then we'd give it to them for free. And it just enabled some of that viral push. That worked most of the time from a marketing perspective as well. If you do the maths, it actually works out. Actually, we did sell Renault Meganes at one stage in Dublin, and that someone literally did buy 4 cars. That didn't work out for me from a marketing budget point of view, but most of the time it actually works out really well. And if you think about the guys that started Living Social, they figured that out quite early. They tried to figure out a way to harness social networks to drive new customers to a business. And they came up with an app. This is back in 2009, I think. It's called Pick 5, and it allowed you to pick your 5 favorite films, 5 favorite movies, 5 favorite restaurants, and they put it out on Facebook, and they just sold the advertising around the side of it. In the first couple of weeks, they made a couple of grand, paid the rent. They were quite happy. But literally by week 4, they'd made $1 million. And it's still one of the most popular apps of all time. 150 million people have used that app. And it was back in the early days of social networks. You probably wouldn't get that traction these days. But just think, that's a free network out there for you to absolutely harness. Just think about it. And the guys at the top of that funnel, the innovators, the guys buying your products and your service now, they're the ones that take on new technology. They're the ones that are vocal about it. And they're generally the ones that have more cachet with friends when they talk about technology. So if you can figure out a way early on to incentivize that to happen by maybe some sort of a marketing technique, or just making sure you look after that top tier, then you have access to that funnel that sort of flips things around. So I suggest you definitely have a look at that. And then think about as well, like we do now when you're a bit more evolved, like what's the magic number, right? What is the magic number? Like if you look at, I see Travis from Uber down there, right? Their magic number is 4 minutes. If they don't get you a cab in 4 minutes, there's a difference between them doing all right in a town and 50x revenue difference. 4 minutes to 6 minutes. If they can't get you enough supply in 4 minutes of taxis in a town, 50x difference in revenue. So that's their magic number, and they'll hone in on that every day to get their supply. Like if they haven't got that supply of taxis in 4 minutes, they're out of business. So what's your magic number to get you from there to do that? In YPlan, we won't give away all our secrets, although it is sort of secret sharing, but it's more about us getting to first purchaser. So if you're selling something, or if you've got traction, or you've got customers, what made them buy? Figure it out and then hone in on that and kill it. Just advertise or do whatever you need to do to figure out your magic number. And this is something I like as well that's helped me, and it helped me when I was book selling. It helps me now. This is just and you can do it when I guess some of you guys are seeking investment, or you've had investment, or you have to deal with that sort of stuff. But I use this as a communication tool. So there's 3 types of people, and it's about how they like to absorb information. So everyone prefers a certain style to absorb information, and if you give it to them in the right way, because if you're a small business, you have to get people have to buy off you. They have to buy your idea. They may have to buy your idea for investment. You have to sell to new customers. So just figure out how they like to absorb information. Knowers like bullet points, right? They're the guys if it's an investor, they'll be like, what have you got? What have you? Tell me. And they just like bullet points. So sell them, if you're in a room, give them bullet points. Feelers, they're the sort of people you may go out to lunch with. What's everyone else eating? They like to paint pictures. They like stories. They're the sort of people, if you're looking for investment, they'll ask you, hey, what's your background? Where do you come from? What does the app look like? Or what's the product look like? They're feelers. Fine, give them that stuff. If you're trying to give them bullet points, they won't absorb it. And obviously, you want to make them make a decision. It's about how people like to make decisions. And then you've got thinkers, they just like all the detail, right? They like every bit of detail going. So you have to give them all the maths, you have to give them every possible piece of information to get them to make a decision. So just think about that with your consumers. And if you think how we build products, if I go back, the visuals that we use at YPlan are very much for feelers. They like visuals. Oh, that looks awesome, I'm going to buy it. Knowers just want the price and done. They're out. 2 taps. If you don't give them 2 taps, they're out. Bang, bang, bang. Thinkers, we're going to look at all the detail. They're going to go into the fine print. They're going to look at it. What seat is it? Are my friends going? All that sort of stuff. Fine, give them that stuff. And everyone's a mix of each one. But when you're dealing with, I use this for investors. We know, the guy I sold the company to Microsoft with was a massive knower. If we gave him, loads of detail, he just never read the emails. We actually literally had to put the bullet points in the email title to get him to respond. But once we figured him out, we kept doing that, and that's how we enabled him to make decisions quickly. So it's about how people make decisions, and you can build product around it. You can also sell to people, and you'll figure people out pretty quickly. As soon as you walk in a room, figure out what they are, and then give them the information that allows them to digest it to make a decision. And that's it. Simples.